What's up, dude? Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to be talking about Mr. Kevin Spacey because we now have a verdict for his trial that has been going on for like a month now about some sexual assault charges that came out against him. So trigger warning for sexual assault, sexual misconduct. I'm not going to be going into a ton of like graphic detail, but I will be sort of painting a somewhat vague picture of an incident that did happen that we have a little bit more details about. And I don't want anybody to get triggered by something that is said in one of my videos. I try to keep them as clean in a way that I can, but still like descriptive enough that you understand what happened. I don't want there to be any misconceptions or anything. So if that is something that is going to be very triggering to you or triggering at all, definitely click off of this video and watch something else maybe. But that being said, let's just jump right into it today. So I'm sure most of us know who Kevin Spacey is. He was in the movie American Beauty and he was very famously on House of Cards. That was a really big show. Lots of people loved it. He played a pretty big character in that show, I believe. I personally haven't been like a huge fan of his. Like I know of some of his movies, but it's not like I see a movie and I'm like, oh, Kevin Spacey, let's watch it. Definitely not the case for me, but anyways, that's just kind of who he is. He's an American actor. Pretty much all you need to know, I guess. But if you guys want me to go and do a video that details his life a little bit more thoroughly, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But on October 29th, 2017, actor Anthony Rapp alleged that Kevin Spacey, while intoxicated, made sexual advances towards him at a party in 1986 when Anthony was only 14 and Kevin was 26. Anthony shared the story in 2001 in an interview, but Kevin's name was redacted to avoid like legal disputes and a public outing because Kevin Spacey was not out yet as a gay man in 2001. So Anthony is quoted as saying, "He was trying to seduce me. I don't know if I would have used that language, but I was aware that he was trying to get with me sexually. I came forward with my story, standing on the shoulders of the many courageous women and men who have been speaking out to shine a light and hopefully make a difference as they have done for me. Everything I wanted to say about my experience is in that article, and I have no further comment about it at this time." Then it was a while later till until Kevin responded. It was October 30th of 2017, and he said, "I have a lot of respect and admiration for Anthony Rapp as an actor. He was in Rent." So if there's any theater heads out there, that is something that he was in. "I'm beyond horrified to hear his story. I honestly do not remember the encounter. That would have been over 30 years ago. But if I did behave as he describes, I owe him the sincerest apology for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior, and I'm so sorry for the feelings he describes having carried with him all these years. This story has encouraged me to address other things about my life. I know that there are stories out there about me, and some have been fueled by the fact that I have been so protective of my privacy. As those closest to me know, in my life, I have had relationships with both men and women. I have loved and had romantic relationships with men throughout my life, and I choose to now live as a gay man. I want to deal with this honestly and openly, and that starts with examining my own behavior." So he got a lot of backlash for this, for coming out after this controversy, because a lot of people were like, oh, so like now are you trying to play the victim card? Like, did you use this assault and, horrible behavior that you had done? Are you trying to like use that now to come out and then have people like praise you for coming out? And, this is 2017. So, I mean, a lot more people were out and whatnot at this point in time. But I still think that you were getting a lot of, people are still getting repercussions for, being gay today, but in 2017, that was already 6 years ago now. So it was, even worse back then, I think, or people were a little bit more apprehensive about coming out. I am straight, so I don't know how much I can speak on this, but I'm just trying to say that like a lot of people were like, oh, okay, so you're just trying to use coming out as a way to get out of this allegation? Like, is that what you're trying to do? So it wasn't was not accepted at all. Like, people, I mean, like, even other actors and celebrities in the gay community were kind of condemning him for that. They were like, okay, that was so not the time to do it. So then in November of that same year, Kevin went and did some treatment to help with his behavior, I guess, because he was still on House of Cards at this time. So they were filming, I believe it was their 6th and final season. Like, they knew they were going to wrap the show up after that. So they halted filming for a while to kind of figure out what was going to be happening. And then that season was cut down from 13 episodes down to 8. And spoiler alert, Kevin's character was killed off in the show. And he also had a lot of other projects that he was going to be working on, like canceled, or he was pulled from them. Netflix was going to do a movie with him and they like cut ties with him. So he definitely was facing some repercussions for this. And then on November 8th, 2017, Heather Unruh, I know I'm saying her name incorrectly, but she accuses Kevin of groping her son in 2016 in Nantucket. Now, Heather was a former Boston TV news anchor, and she said in a statement, in July of 2016, actor Kevin Spacey sexually assaulted my son. It happened late night inside the club, car, restaurant, and bar on Nantucket Island. The victim, my son, was a starstruck, straight, 18-year-old young man who had no idea that the famous actor was an alleged sexual predator or that he was about to become his next victim. She also said that Kevin Spacey bought him drink after drink after drink, and when my son was drunk, Spacey made his move and sexually assaulted him. She later added that Kevin, stuck his hand inside my son's pants and grabbed his genitals. And there have been other men coming forward saying like, yeah, Kevin like groped me too, or he came at me like a cobra, I think was one quote that somebody had said. And then Tony Montana, who is a filmmaker, he accused Kevin of groping him in 2003. In an interview with ABC News Nightline, he said, I smiled, he leaned in. His right arm was around my shoulder and he put his hand under the bar, and that's when he grabbed me, and he grabbed me very hard. I had never been groped before, and he looked at me and he said in a very sobering voice, and this sardonic look on his face said, this designates ownership. Ew, that's disgusting. I absolutely hate that. So Tony Montana, he never filed a police report, but remember, this was in 2003, so this was like a while ago. So he said, I'm not going after Kevin for money. I don't wish him any ill will. It's just he did something 14 years ago that's affecting not only him, but all the people who work on that show. Which I really don't think we should make people feel bad for not filing police reports. I mean, if you're scared to file one, that is on the other person or whoever it is that's making you feel scared. I don't think that's really on you, because it would be scary to go after someone like Kevin Spacey, a very well-known actor in the business, you know? So I'm not saying he's wrong for not filing a police report. However, it would have been helpful. I don't want to like make anyone feel bad or make it seem like I'm reprimanding him, but it probably would have been helpful, because then we would have had more of a paper trail of Kevin Spacey's misconduct. But that's neither here nor there. At least he came forward and he said what happened in the end, and that kind of helped back up everybody else's claims then as well. So I still think it's amazing that he came forward. So then on November 16th of 2017, the London Theatre finds 20 allegations of inappropriate behavior against Kevin Spacey. Now, initially when all of these allegations had started coming out after Anthony came forward first, the London Theatre was like, oh yeah, we've never had any issues with him like working here before. Like, there's been no problems. But then they kind of go back and look, and then they find some, inappropriate behavior that he had done. There were 20 accusations against Kevin. The incidents were reported between 1995 and 2013, and majority of them were before 2009, and only 2 of them were after 2009. However, the individuals that, filed these allegations, they didn't really raise their concerns with anybody else in the theater. So they didn't say much about it or cause too big of a stink about it, even though they had every right to. So on November 26th, House of Cards, they extend their hiatus for the show, and then in December they announced that production is going to resume without him, and then, you know, that's when his character was killed off. And then in February 2018, Kevin Spacey's foundation announces its closing. And his foundation, I didn't even know that he had one, but it's not uncommon for actors to have one. But his foundation aimed to encourage young people in the performing arts. So then in April of 2018, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office announces an investigation into Kevin Spacey because enough people had been coming forward with allegations against him. Then there was a second investigation later on that year in August. But then in September, they say that Kevin won't face charges regarding the 1992 allegation. Now, this allegation came from an anonymous man, but the statute of limitations had already expired, so they really couldn't go after him for that one anymore, which is really unfortunate for the victim. And then on September 27th of 2018, Kevin is sued by an alleged sexual assault victim from 2016. Now, this is another John Doe. We don't know their actual name, but it's a different person than the last one. But they said that they were a masseuse who was invited to Kevin's Malibu home, and they were just like giving him a massage, and they were massaging his leg, but then it took a turn when Kevin like kind of turned over, grabbed the masseur's hand, and then put it on his groin. And then Kevin allegedly, because we can't fully prove it at this time, that Kevin then exposed himself to the masseur, and the man claims that Kevin had grabbed the man's groin like over his clothes and offered to perform oral sex on him. Then in December, Kevin was charged with felony sexual assault from the alleged 2016 incident in the Massachusetts bar. So that was from the news anchor and her son, who was 18 years old at the time. It was from that incident he was charged. But then in January, he pled not guilty to that. But the not guilty plea was only entered like after he wouldn't put in a plea. So I guess after you don't enter a plea, then it just automatically goes to not guilty. Probably because everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So maybe that's why they just automatically go with not guilty, I guess, now that I really think about it. But then in July of 2019, the 18-year-old boy from Nantucket drops the civil lawsuit against Kevin because it was dismissed with prejudice. It couldn't be refiled anymore, and that was because prosecutors claimed that they had Kevin's cell phone or texts from his cell phone, but then it was like, no, you guys actually don't. Those aren't real. So that's why, like, now it was just kind of like, okay, we're throwing it out. Then on September 9th of 2020, so we're now 3 years after Anthony first came forward accusing Kevin of sexual assault, he then comes and attempts to sue Kevin Spacey for the sexual assault. And then there was also a second man who we don't know their actual name, but they just went by CD in the court documents. But they came forward and they also tried to sue Kevin along with Anthony. Like, they were two separate lawsuits, but it's like they kind of came forward at the same time and like placed their lawsuits at the same time. We don't know how much money they tried to get from him or like how much they were seeking, but that they just both came forward and sued him. So not only while that was going on, but then in November of 2021, Kevin had to pay almost $31 million to the House of Cards production for a breach of contract because there was a sexual harassment policy that was in their contract that you had to sign. So like if you sexually harassed anybody, you had to pay because you breached the contract. Like there's like no sexual assault. Like they make it very clear, do not do that. Which I mean, like, okay, don't do that in general, but like I think it was really smart that they put that in the contract. And I don't know how common that is in like shows or movies or anyone to do that. Like I don't know if that is just automatically put in. Comment down below if you know, because I do not. But I think that's really smart, and I think there should be a clause about sexual harassment in like any contract you sign. Starting a new job, sexual harassment clause. Like if someone is accused of and found guilty of sexual harassment, I think they should have to pay some sort of fine. And of course, Kevin does try to get it thrown out. However, it was not ever thrown out, and he does still owe that money. And in May of 2022, Kevin was then charged with 4 counts of sexual assault in the UK, and this was from the Playhouse in, I know I'm going to say this incorrectly, Gloucestershire that initially said like, oh yeah, there were never any problems with Kevin, and then they were like, oh wait, actually, we did have problems with Kevin. And then in July, he pleads not guilty to these charges. And the trial date for the Anthony Rapp case was set for October 5th, and on October 7th, Anthony actually does get up and he testifies against Kevin, and he said that the incident took place at Kevin's Upper East Side apartment during a party in 1986, and Anthony was only, like I said, 14 at the time, so everybody at the party was drinking and listening to music and being kind of loud, and Anthony just wanted to get away from everybody. So he went into a bedroom just to watch TV and be on his own. And that is when Kevin, very intoxicated, walked into the room and pressed his full weight of his chest and groin into Anthony after being lifted up and put onto the bed. But Anthony was able to slip out and exit the apartment, and then that is when Kevin said, "Are you sure you want to leave?" And then the first witness for this trial was Andrew Holtzman, and he said that Kevin made a similar move on him during the summer of 1981 when he entered his office at the New York Shakespeare Festival and said, "I could feel his erection on my body," according to the Associated Press. However, in October of 2022, Kevin was found not guilty of molesting Anthony Rapp charges, and Kevin's defense was very certain that Anthony was just trying to get more recognition because he is also an actor today. Like I said, he was in Rent. They think that he was just doing this for fame, recognition, possibly to gain some monetary value as well, get some money from Kevin. So I guess Kevin said that the encounter never happened because when Anthony went to describe the apartment that the incident had supposedly happened in, here he had described it incorrectly. And so that was a huge strike against him and his story and kind of his whole case. So since he wasn't able to describe the apartment correctly, that was sort of like, okay, that caused enough doubt, I'm sure, and that's part of the reason that he was found not guilty. So then one complainant from the London, that playhouse that had come forward, he said that the incident between him and Kevin happened between 2004 or 2005. He said that Kevin reached over while they were driving and grabbed his genitals so hard that he nearly veered off the road. And this is when they were on their way to Elton John's White Tie and Tiara ball. And Elton John actually went up on the stand and said, okay, no, because Kevin hasn't been to that party since 2001. That was the last time he was there, and you're saying that this incident happened in either 2004 or 2005. I believe it's an annual party, and he was like, no, Kevin has not been there since 2001 to that party. So when Kevin went up and talked, he claims that the pair had a consensual relationship, and he felt crushed by the complainant's characterization of their encounters. So, I mean, he was under the impression that, the relationship was consensual. I guess the other guy saying, no, it definitely was not. So, that's where communication really is key. And so Kevin was found not guilty of 9 charges that were brought up against him from the London Playhouse. And that kind of brings us up to date on Kevin. I believe that now he is totally free of any charges against him. However, I do think that this will harm his reputation, and I didn't even mention the fact that he was on Jeffrey Epstein's his flight log in, I believe, 2001 his name appears as well. But anyways, yeah, I don't know how much we're going to be hearing from Kevin Spacey. I'm sure now that he has been found not guilty on these charges, I'm sure we will hear a little bit more. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of see what happens with his career, or if he just decides to retire. I don't really know, but I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments down below. So please let me know if you feel like I missed anything important. Definitely be sure to comment it down below, because I'm positive that I missed something or glossed over something that you guys guys will think is really important. And I was just trying to give a very nice overview on kind of what happened. Not a ton of specifics, but enough so you understand. But that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video interesting, please be sure to give it a thumbs up down below, as well to subscribe to my channel if you want. If not, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will be back tomorrow with another True Crime Courier video. Bye guys!